Tyrone before?
Yeah.
I set the game for 2 weeks.
Oh, this is shorter
gives
than
you plenty of time to...
That's what I was telling Sal. You guys are all cold, but then we park and you're like...
There's a sack at the end, and it.
Yeah, you know, we just all play like street hockey and flag football in there.
I'm not a good skater, so I didn't.
Street hockey, you know.
Oh, they would have rollerblades out there.
What? Long webbing. Oh, for the screens? I've got those tapes and all this stuff. What are the black mesh? Whatever's in there. The black mesh surrounding these.
And there's one by Sal.
Maybe you can tie those two handles together on the opposite side.
What'd you do down there?
A glove hitch. There's some stuff in there that people can put in their bags too, like there's small items in there.
Yeah, I'll just carry the whole thing.
Yeah. I can take the right side. It sucks, but I can take it. I don't have as much.
Okay.
I know, I think Connor, someone said that they just ascended this one the other day, and it wasn't too bad, but you do end up just...
One more of the orange things, but I don't have anything long enough to wrap it around twice.
Yeah, we'll bring it back and use the blue can. I'm going to try to lift the highline off, push everything around. That's a rope. Yeah, tagline. That'd be nice, huh?
all around the thing. Are you trying to move it?
We're just like.
Not even strong one.
Ready? Did you need to pull? Okay. Good.
Are you still autoing, Blake?
Yep.
You still having around?
I guess, do we need this thing?
No, there's nothing that has been coming up here. Brought up in
We have
case.
more dirt buckets for these guys.
Might be-
Get some corners. Get more corners. Thank you.
It'd be kind of cool if there's just like huge piece of meat.
I think when the banana trees fell, that was like the loudest noises. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you zip line from that one to the white line. And then. What are you doing for there? Here, Blake. You. Yes. Only taking it. What do you mean? Why are you confused?
I hate going past this thing.
That's okay. Here. Put that in there too. Well, we haven't hung screens yet, so we don't.
Left side, up lapel.
Okay, so the site we're at is Phou Pha Thi in Laos. We had a number of Americans who were stationed on top of this mountain. There was kind of a flat summit at the top where they had a bunch of structures. They were helping orchestrate bombing runs over North Vietnam as well as over the Barrow Roll area of Laos. On 10 March 1968, their position was overtaken by Vietnamese forces. 12 of the men were killed, one of whom was killed on a rescue aircraft, but 11 were killed on the summit, and according to witness statements, their bodies were dumped over the edge of the cliff and landed on these ledges below.
And what were kind of the results from that?
Yeah, I was here in the fall of 2023. It was actually what we called a pre-deployment site survey, so we weren't doing any real archaeological activity. The purpose of that mission was to figure out whether or not it was even feasible to conduct archaeological activity at the site and get a better idea of where we would want to do archaeological work if we were to come back. So that mission was a lot of route finding, trying to find access to the ledges that we needed to get to. It was a lot of hiking. We rappelled down and were lowered from the top of the summit to see if that was more feasible, and also attempted to fly in as well. Ultimately, we did get to spend a decent amount of time on our working ledges. We were successful in recovering bone, even though it wasn't the intent of the mission. The results of that bone were the identification of Sergeant David Stanley Price. We're currently looking for 8 individuals. It was originally 11, but we've since accounted for 3 of them. So being able to be back here after the 2023 mission feels kind of extra special or extra rewarding. Oftentimes, as our anthropologist or archaeologist, we don't get to go back to the same sites. And being able to kind of be here and kind of follow through on the work that we started it means a lot. You get kind of close to the case, to the incident, do all the research on the individuals who are missing, and knowing that you're able to continue to put that effort in to bring those individuals back. It's kind of a special, rewarding feeling.
For sure.
So I guess most days the team will either hike up to the site or we'll be able to fly and then get access to the site that way. Once we're on site, we've kind of narrowed an area that we want to focus our excavation at. So we get to site, half the team will start digging in that area and excavating. We're using smaller hand tools for this site rather than shovels. There's a lot of rocks. We are on a ledge. It's basically a scree field or talus field. So we can't use traditional tools. We'll have to use smaller hand tools. Once we excavate those sediments out, they go into buckets. We have rope systems set up to help transport those buckets to a dry screening station. And everything is processed through the dry screens by our team members as well. I mentioned rope systems, so even just accessing the site requires numerous rope systems. So we have a team of mountaineers out with us who are helping us with all of that and the site access. And that's basically it. As I mentioned, one of the biggest challenges of the site is simply site access. So it's can be very difficult to get here. We do require ropes, mountaineer experience, so all of the team members are rappelling and ascending on a daily basis. But then archaeologically, the site's also a bit complicated because it is a steep slope. There's been a lot of movement of materials downslope over time. There's also a lot of rock fall here, so there's rocks that are hitting things, tumbling. It also makes it a safety hazard, which we are able to mitigate to the best of our abilities. But just in general, whenever you have a slope, you're going to have a lot of downhill movement that's kind of scattering materials across the terrain. We can predict to some extent where those materials are going to end up, but a lot of it is exploratory, going down different chutes and different draws and seeing what types of materials have ended up there. So as far as the site access goes, most of the team members have been trained by our mountaineers in how to rappel and how to ascend and use the rope systems. We've also had a lot of the team members go to different mountaineering schools and make sure that everyone understands mountain safety. Obviously you can see they've got a helmet on, so we also wear helmets to help mitigate any of the rockfall risk. We have EODs with us. The site, I didn't mention previously, but the site has a pretty high unexploded ordnance burden. So we have our EODs here, our explosive ordnance disposal technicians, to help us with that. As far as archaeologically processing the soils, we've built backstops to help kind of keep our soil in place and not continue to roll downhill as we move around the slope. So we brought a variety of construction materials, really, like orange fencing and black mesh, as well as sandbag walls that we build to help maintain all of that. I mean, we're really out here for the families. It's important that they get closure. We know that it's still something that sticks with a lot of them on a daily basis, and they're constantly thinking about what happened to their father, their husband, their uncle. So knowing that we're here trying to bring these men home to their families so they know what happened and get answers, that's makes it all worth it. It really is important to me that everyone remembers who it is that we're out here looking for. So try to make sure that the team has them in mind at all times, and I think that comes naturally to everyone. We just really try to focus on what we're doing and why we're here.
Knowledge in your background with this site?
Sure. So I have been in various ways involved in this site case since probably at least 2019, 2018 I think, late 2018, in preparation for the 2019 investigation that we did out here on the lower slopes. So that was more mission planning and kind of working out the logistics and how exactly we were going to go about executing operations out here for that. And then in 2020, I was doing some of the planning work for our early attempts at partner work for a LiDAR survey, drone survey of the site area. And then in February 2020, I actually met with one of the family members, Rick Holland, at the Portland FMU. So spoke with him along with several other DPAA staff about the progression of the case. Later, some more of the planning for the partner effort that I think we finally got accomplished in 2022. And then initial training for the 2024 mission, which we kind of started training for back in May or June of 2023. And then again, in advance of this one, the more active training with the mountain stuff. I think we, in earnest, started training for this mission in September of 24. So now here.
Yeah, for sure.
It feels really cool. When the laboratory asked for volunteers to be the scientific recovery on this site, I kind of jumped at the chance. Knowing the significance of this case and all the work that we've done so far, it just, the opportunity to be even more actively involved in the case progression, in working this site, especially given how challenging I knew the site was. It was an opportunity that I just didn't want to pass up. And it feels really nice to be able to be here and be so actively involved, and it kind of helps feedback on all the planning work that we did.
For sure.
There were several different things that we had to work on in terms of like pre-mission or pre-excavation site setup. We did a lot of we did some initial setup of our geospatial equipment. That's something we learned from last year, was one of the challenges in getting more accurate data. And so that was one of the things we did straight away when we got here. One of the first days, even before we really got out onto the ledge, was to set the equipment up, to make sure it was working, to make sure it was operating the way we needed it to, so we can really collect that more high accuracy data that we struggled with a little bit last year, because there are some challenges of this environment. And then on top of that, because of the terrain of this site, even just the site infrastructure, it's always challenging on any site to figure out where to put the screen station, where you're going to move your dirt, things of that nature. And on this site, it's so much more challenging to figure out where we can move stuff, where we can put stuff and not be covering up our site, where kind of the downfall of materials move. So that was kind of a lot of stuff we had to figure out before we could even really get in and start working the site this time. I would say some of the biggest challenges, of course, access to the terrain. So that's been something that we have, we have our mountaineers. We've done a lot of training with all the team members so that everyone has a base level of skill for mountaineering, and so that we can work on the systems, work in this environment, just even walking around safely. We've done a lot with kind of extra UXO support. A lot of our primary specialties we have redundancy for, because of the difficulty in moving in this terrain. So we have 2 SREs, so that if we're looking at 2 separate areas that are hard to move back and forth between, we have coverage in both areas, which is really helpful in this terrain. That's been a big, a big challenge for us, that I think the way we built the team this year really has made it much easier to do all the things that we need to do out here. It's our mission, and it's a promise we made to the service members, to their families, and we are able to do it in this case. I think in the past, people weren't sure that we could get out here and operate safely in this environment, and I think that we have, as an agency, we've taken the steps necessary to be able to mitigate a lot of those challenges, so that we can. So in situations where there is work that we can do and we have the ability to do that, to fulfill that promise, then we really need to do everything that's within our capabilities to do that. And I think this is a good example of where we've taken our skill sets and our experience and taken something that we thought maybe was not very possible for us and really made it possible, which is, all goes back to the families, really, and fulfilling that promise to them. Feels good. It gives a lot of meaning to our work. I mean, I really enjoy my work anyway. It's something I really enjoy doing, but when you get to do it for such a purpose, I think that's a very rare thing to get to experience. So I'm very lucky to get to do this work, and the fact that it contributes to answers that we can bring to families, there really can't be anything better, I don't think.